Sue, a roll call, please.
Yep.
Okay. Mr. Arcuri?
We see him. He's here.
Mr. Bova?
Yes.
Here.
Mr. Brodsky?
Yep.
Mr. Core? Mr. Coyne?
Oh, you can take
Here.
the top.
Mr. D'Elia?
Here.
Mr. Ford? Mr. Lewis?
There he is.
Is Mr. Lewis on?
Yeah, he just came in.
Okay. Mr. Karam?
Here.
Thank you. Mr. Matolo? Mr. Sampson?
Yep.
Oh.
He's there.
And Ms. Sesney?
Here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. You have in your packet the October 26, 2020 traffic. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion made.
Okay.
Second.
Second.
Any corrections, deletions, additions? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. The first item on our agenda is the resolution for professional services. Is Dick not with us, Pat?
He's there. He's in the back.
Oh.
We're here. Can you hear me okay,
Let's tell him
everyone?
to get where we can see him.
You want to move forward?
Yeah. Here we go.
Hey, Dick.
Up? Why?
No, he's fine. There's a
We're
microphone.
good. I
right
got a
in
mic
front.
right here.
Yeah.
We're good. Okay. Yeah, agenda item number 4 is a professional services contract for design of a significant improvement up at the water treatment plant. It's our second largest project after the transmission mains at $7 million. With this one's a budget of $1 million in the new bonds. It's a project that's been under study for a number of years, and the need for it, I will turn over to Phil Tangora, take a brief, then I'll pop back in. It's significant safety and security project, so you should hear from the expert.
Okay. The Water Quality Department's been looking at moving to a liquid chlorine system for a number of years, at least back until 2012. The current disinfection is gas chlorine, and there are a lot of dangers associated with that. It's very safe when it's operating normally, but if there was ever a release, there are a number of significant concerns to not only the staff, but also to the surrounding area. So the industry as a whole has been moving to a liquid chlorine system for a number of years, and it's time for us to do that. We had made a commitment with Suez when we partnered with them that we would move towards this. So that's essentially where we are today. It'll remove some of the regulatory burdens that come along with using gas chlorine in our system, and it'll make it a much safer environment, not only for the treatment plant, the staff, but the surrounding community as well. So that's the background behind the information.
You know, I'll add one more thing. Back when we were really on heightened security from terrorism acts, the gaseous chlorine, which comes in 1-ton cylinders, were really suspect for potential targets for terrorism. And we had been told at the time to have the deliveries staggered, tell the drivers to use alternating routes so they couldn't be tracked, because if they released one in the middle of an area where a truck was passing through, you could kill an awful lot of people if it's passing through a metropolitan area. So the industry, as Phil said, in general, is trying to get rid of the gaseous chlorine, not only for operating safety, but also as a way to mitigate potential terrorism.
Okay, and I'll talk just a little bit about the procurement of the services. We did limit it to 3 firms, and we're fortunate that we have 3 firms out there, very qualified, that are familiar with the treatment plant, its operations. Really didn't want to bring in a firm cold in this case to do this type of design. You're integrating it into the existing systems. Those 3 firms were GHD engineers from Casanova, now Syracuse, formerly Stearns and Wheeler. Environmental Design and Resources, also out of the Syracuse area. And a lot of their team is former Stearns and Wheeler folks, as well as Suez. Suez has an engineering side. They teamed with Wright Pierce out of the local offices in Saratoga. And we did get 3 very good proposals. We put out, of course, a pretty detailed request for the proposals with scope of service requirements. Myself, Dave Jones, Phil Tangora independently reviewed those proposals, and we do recommend that GHD engineers out of Syracuse perform the work. Their quote for the services was $95,700, in that range. Yes. EDR was a little over that, about a little over 100,000, 120,000. The Suez Wright Pierce team were over 200,000, and I think that is a result that they had people coming from various firms to work on the project. But we have a very qualified team. Didn't see any reason to not go with GHD. They can meet the schedule, have all the certification requirements for working on a system such as this, and it is our recommendation. Any questions?
Any questions for Dick regarding this? Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion. Second.
Okay,
A second out there someplace?
Yes. Yeah, we're good.
Second, I said.
We're good.
Oh,
Rocco
I
said.
mean, La La Land with the Zoom crap that we have to put up with. Any further comments on the comment?
Here we go.
It's Rocco that's causing the echo, because as soon as you unmuted, it started.
Okay, good.
I think, now, go ahead, Ellis, I'm sorry.
I was just asking if there were any other comments or concerns besides my editorial comment.
No, I have none.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you. Dick, before you leave us, within your email that conveyed this information to us, you had that transmission line, and Bruce had raised some questions which you responded to, and then Bruce sent out to the board your responses. Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
No, I think we pretty well covered it. It's a very good project in terms of both improving the reliability of our transmission line system and just eliminating a lot of somewhat frequent headaches out there on that line. So it's a good one for us. Made possible by the work our guys have done with replacing valves over the last few years on the transmission lines. So, going well.
Did you have anything further, Bruce?
No.
He said no.
No, I'm happy, and thank you very much, Dick, for getting back to me.
No problem.
Good, very good. Thanks, Dick. Next item, finances, Jim.
Yes, real quickly, you have the 10-month financial statement. We have a positive cash flow year-to-date going into the last couple months of the year. As I mentioned in the past, we have a couple large outlays that occur in December, so we're hoping to continue to build that. We had a pretty good month in October, so we're continuing to build our cash flow, even though consumption is down year-to-date 3.8%. So we're continuing to see that. It's kind of leveling off, but we've been around 3.5% for the past several months, so we're hoping that starts to rebound. That's it.
Any questions for Jim regarding the financials?
No?
Thanks, Jim. You're up, Pat.
Okay, a couple quick things. First and foremost, November 5th, a Thursday, we did close on the bonds. I think most of you knew that that was on track and slated to close on schedule, which it did. So we have successfully refinanced about slightly less than $12 million of debt that was incurred in 2012 and acquired the $15.2 million for the construction fund for projects moving forward. All the money's in place, the bonds are closed, the process is done, and it went very well. And hats off to Jim and his staff and all of our consultants. A lot of hours put in on that. Second thing I want to mention is that we did have the tank dedication of the new Snowden Hill tank last week. Several board members were able to be on site for it. Some of you were not able to, but it went well. I think we had some good media coverage. The town was very appreciative. The town supervisor, Paul Mashoni, spoke. There was presence from the police department, the fire department, obviously Dave Core and his daughter were there. Denny Bova was able to make it. Betty came. Ellis was there. Bruce was there.
Mr.
And,
Coyne.
Mr. Coyne was there as well, Vince Coyne. So that went well, and it's in service and another successful project. So good job with Dick and his engineering staff managing another successful construction project. Last thing I wanted to mention is just about 2 hours ago, I received a phone call from a woman that some of you may know. Her name is Andrea Heath. She is the director of the Utica Zoo, and she has asked if we might consider a favor. I told her I would bring it to the board, that it wasn't my decision, but I'd let the board know and let the board decide. But she explained to me that the zoo is seeing a lot of the financial hardship that other people are seeing. Less people are attending the zoo because of COVID, et cetera. So one of the things they're doing creatively to try to plug their budget hole a little bit is they are extending the hours into the evening till 8 o'clock every night. And they got some money to buy a bunch of Christmas lights. So if you're familiar with something they do in Syracuse called Lights on the Lake, or Onondaga Lake, they're trying to do something similar to zoo. So at night in the dark, people wouldn't be coming so much to see the animals as they would to see all the lighting displays. And they're trying to raise some awareness that they are open at night, trying to generate a little bit of extra admission tickets. So they had a flyer printed out. They have 50,000 copies of a flyer describing the extended hours. She asked if we could see our way to maybe between now and January 5th, when the thing ends, to have them inserted in water bills. I told her that I would bring it to the board, and you know, if it wasn't the fact that they are a quasi-county operation, because they were taken over by the county and funded in a significant part by the county, and also were named in our legislation as one of our sort of regional partners, where they actually get free water. They're the only entity that's allowed to get free water by our legislation. So I told her that that puts her at least in a different category than a lot of other folks that might start lining up and asking us to do the same thing. But I told her that it was really a board decision, so I just wanted to run that by you. That was her request. And I also told her that, you know, we because we're on a quarterly billing system and there's only essentially 7 weeks left, we would only get to 30, you know, maybe 35% of our customer base with this mailing if it went in with the bill. But she said any little bit would help and they would still be appreciative. So that's pretty much the story, and I leave it up to you to, you know, guide me as to what we tell her.
Well, Pat, I'd like to chime in on this right out of the gate. Regardless of legislation, the county, everything you just said, it just opens the door for every not-for-profit to come to us and try and do the same thing, and I just don't think we should put ourselves in that position. I don't have a problem if something could go up for them or anybody else that needs some, in the not-for-profit world, that needs some advertising for what's going on, especially these days, if we put it on our website or something. But I have a really difficult time putting this in our mailings.
Okay.
Because I just think it's going to open the door. We're going to get hammered left and right, and then no matter what the reasoning is, we exclude somebody, and you know, it turns into a whole different animal.
Yeah.
I agree with Ellis.
Mark Ford has his hand up. Mark, you got on mute. There you go.
Yeah, I unmuted myself. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
How much does it cost in postage to send out the bills every month? Is there any rough idea on that?
We get a bulk rate. I don't know if it's a little less than the normal rate, but I don't know what off the top of my head. Jim, do you recall what it is?
Cents per bill.
We get a bulk commercial rate to send our water bills out, and what she was proposing was that it get, folded into the bill, and so it wouldn't increase our postage cost. But, as you know, we've talked about, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm not talking about increasing it. I'm asking how much do we pay currently
It's
without
about
thinking about what they're
$10,000 a
doing.
month.
It's, so $10,000 a month, $120,000 a year, times about 145,000 bills, maybe on an annual basis. No, that can't be right. That would be almost $1 of postage.
Well, it would be depending on the number of times you send the bills. It's about 38 cents or something each, I think we get.
Yeah, it's less than the normal rate, but it's not a whole lot less.
No, the reason why I'm saying is if they agreed to pay the postage, now hang on before anybody jumps in, let me finish talking. If they agreed to pay the postage for the mailing of the bills, probably no one would have a problem with that, right?
Yeah,
I personally don't.
Here's what I'm getting at.
Start.
Well, here's what I'm getting at. If the zoo came by and got a donor to pay for the postage, hang on, that wouldn't work anyways. They could probably just do that on their own.
Right.
they get the same rate.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I would say I would agree with Alice. They would have to just get somebody to donate the postage for them.
Yeah.
They'll have to do that.
Well, and to be fair, I told her this question has come up in the past and that the board has already established, a policy, and the concerns that Alice just said have already been noted for the record. And, I said, I think that we've already decided that we won't do it, but I said I'd bring it to the board, but, I'm perfectly comfortable telling her that we can't.
I can tell you that at my store up in South Utica where we do signs and banners, we always get nonprofits calling all the time asking for free banners, and if we did one, we're going to do 1,000 of them. So
Sure. No, understood. I just told her I would mention it, but I told her that it was probably doubtful. So I don't think she'll be surprised. Okay. We'll consider the matter closed? Right?
Yes.
Very good. Other than that, I don't have anything else unless there's any questions for me.
Mr. Coyne
I have
wants
a question.
Yeah.
What's the water level at Hinckley these days?
It's about 1207 right now, which is about 7 feet below the average for this date. It's about 8 feet below the minimum for this date. So we're running low, but it's not disastrously low right now. The inflows are running around 1,200 CFS, but they have increased the outflow back to the operating diagram amount, which is around 700 CFS. They had reduced it in May all the way down to 250 CFS. Howard Goebel at the Canal Corp called me last week to tell me that they were going to be going back to the operating diagram. So we're holding steady at around 1207. It did pick up a little bit over the last 2 days. It may continue to increase just a little bit as the tail end of this last rain works its way through.
One more question.
Sure.
Anything new on the Skylar Water Project?
Oh, yeah, Betty sent me an email earlier. The district that they are creating or trying to create, last month, the town of Skylar had, the board voted to do a permissive referendum, which means that the board has okayed the creation of the district unless a minimum number of people circulate petitions and gather names to require it to go to a public vote. And Betty emailed me this afternoon saying that the petitioners were successful in getting enough names to force it to go to public referendum. And if I recall, Betty, you said that right now is scheduled for January 5th.
That's correct.
Yeah. Barring any other COVID restrictions. So the public will then vote if they're going to move ahead with creating a district. Anything else?
Hopefully that'll be the case.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Not to do with that, but just going back to your request on the mailings, it just brought something, came to mind here. Do we collect email addresses from customers?
We do when they volunteer it, or we ask them for it, depending on the interaction we're having with them. But if people want to sign up for electronic payments and bills, they have to give us that.
You had said if we're spending about 120,000 a year on postage, I wonder if, you know, we did some type of campaign and reached out to our users and emailed them their bills. We could maybe cut down on our postage and mailings.
Yeah.
If you know, it's just a thought. Maybe that's something we put on the agenda for next, you know, beginning next year.
Yeah. Okay, now you're muted. So one of the things we discussed at the last meeting was that we're going to try to make the move to monthly billing. We're not quite ready yet with the Neptune meter reading system to be able to produce monthly bills. There's some conversion going on with their software right now, which is a separate issue. I'll give you an update on it probably by next month. But in the meantime, we are making a push to, and we've been doing this for quite a while, to get email addresses and electronic billing. That's been steadily climbing, but I think what's really going to push it forward is when we're able to offer monthly bills. And we will do that only under the circumstance that they accept an electronic bill and will not get a hard copy bill. But we believe that we will start to greatly increase the amount of email bills that we're sending out and begin to cut the postage down by moving people to monthly billing. So we'll give you an update on that as it moves forward. Thanks, Rocco. Anything else? Okay.
Great, thanks, Pat.
Yep.
Any old business?
Yes.
Danny Bova, over here in the room, has old business.
Yeah, I heard him.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I noticed on our buildings, now, well, actually, this would be new business, but we got signs up again. We took all them down after 9/11. You know, our different pump stations, saying what it is, and it belongs to Mohawk Valley Water Authority, and so on. Is there any reason we put them back up?
Not specifically, other than the precautions that were recommended 20 years ago or so after the 9/11 attacks. A lot of those have been downgraded quite a bit. So, you know, as we're renovating buildings, we've been just, you know, kind of letting people know that it's our facility. But, you know, that's probably a good question that we should examine and take a second look at, you know, and find out if, you know, if the federal government has any guidance on it. There's something called the Water ISAC, which is a Water Industry Security Information Exchange, you know, and EPA. We'll check and see. Maybe they have some guidance that says it's not something we ought to be doing just yet, but it seemed like most of the threat had passed, and we were entering a little more normal period, but we'll take a second look.
I got one more thing that, up at Walker Road, that's where I noticed the sign. I stopped. Many years ago, we put a new fence up, and it goes right over the top of one of the valves that we cannot get to operate because the fence is on it. And this was brought up quite a long time ago.
Oh.
And, well, I was still working
Yeah.
when I brought up. And I think Chris was in charge of that project. He was kind of cavalier about it, but if we need that valve, we have problems inside. We need that valve to shut the water off going in. There are two valves on that line, but one of them doesn't work. That's why we put that one in.
All right, well, I'm
So,
not aware of it, but we'll take a look
just-
at it.
All we have to do is put a double gate where that fence is,
Yeah.
over that valve,
All right,
and
we'll
solve
take,
the problem.
we'll take a look. This is the first I've heard of it, but we'll take a look.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's all.
Anything else? Anybody else on old or new business? Thanks, everybody. Someday we might actually see each other.
Yeah, have a good Thanksgiving, everybody.
Bye, guys. Happy Thanksgiving.